that will take us on to Smallville, Season 1, Episode 4. It's called X-Ray. So we got our first power episode. Do you know what I love about the power episodes? Before I talk about anything actually in the episode, I love that we had one in Season 1, which was the X-Ray, then Season 2 gets the heat vision, Season 3 gets super hearing, and then they went, oh shit, there's not a lot left to give him. So we went a couple of seasons without any, and then he got super breath, and then I don't think there was any until flight, I guess. The very end.
Yeah, I don't recall any others.
Which I think more than anything tells you they did not plan this to be 10 seasons. Because they'd have spaced them out a bit more.
I have to admit, heat vision is definitely the most memorable to me.
Oh, sure.
I distinctly remember that one.
Yeah, I do have to call a little bit of... Because they all have this thing where the crisis that pops up can only be solved with that new power, and it's just a little bit on the nose and cheesy. Like this episode, the villain's a shapeshifter that can only be recognised by Clark because the X-ray vision shows that it's,
Yeah, this is one of those things where... you're right, it is annoying, but it's only a problem in this episode, because now it's like, okay, he's got the power, we can just use that whenever.
Yeah, of course. I will say, I'm going to critique something here, but also praise it at the same time. I like, at least part of the X-ray vision is literally just X-ray vision. It looks like an X-ray. I like that. I like having that effect. Because in old movies and shows, it's always just, it's like a circular window through a wall, and you can see...
Yeah, no, this is everything kind of blacks out.
Yeah, and it's X-ray vision. I like that. Of course, they kind of ruin it by saying that he can also just see through things in full colour. No, just give him the X-ray vision.
Yeah, they kind of go, no, he can do both.
Which I don't like, especially since... Because what I love about his powers with the X-ray vision is that he can't see through lead, because real X-rays can't see through lead. I love that. But if he can see things in full colour, then that doesn't really fit into it in the same way.
Yeah, I don't hate it, though. I kind of just go with it. I appreciate at least they just set it up now and go, no, this is the rules straight away. They're not flip-flopping us later.
No, that is fair. But I definitely just prefer the idea of it being actual X-ray.
Yeah.
I like that a bit more. Especially since it makes it a bit less creepy, because it's not just full on, I can look through like walls and clothes and see whoever I want. There's always a little bit of that in this, by accident, admittedly.
Yeah, to be fair.
But there's a little bit of it. So I do appreciate that. I do like that. What is funny though, I don't think this show ever does like the microscopic vision, where you can like zoom in kind of thing.
I don't think so. No,
it never does that. I thought that was interesting because, I mean, it's not a big part of his power set. Like, it doesn't get used that often, but it is just, that's the thing.
Maybe it doesn't. We've forgotten. I don't know.
He never gets freeze breath either. He gets super breath. He gets like the strong breath, but he never gets outright freezing breath.
No, I don't think so. But it is colder, so when it was... I feel like he uses it to be cold at some times. When it's cold outside, it amplifies that.
Oh, sure, yeah. But it's like, it's only if the air itself is cold for it to be cold. Yeah. Which is fine. That's actually why in Season 1 of Supergirl I was really impressed when they just whipped out the freeze breath at one point. I was like, oh, we've got freeze breath. Like, I expect him to avoid it because it's inherently the goofiest power.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, like, it's just on a science level, yes, blowing is colder than breathing because of, the compressed air. And so, freeze breath just takes it to the extreme.
Yeah, it's the silliest because it's just kind of over the top.
Yeah,
icicles and stuff, and like actually freezing, like Mr. Freezy gun, like It's a bit much. But anyway, so he gets X-ray vision. He gets it right at the start of the episode. We open with Alien Ant Farm playing because of course we do.
Gotta have one of those songs right at the start.
Do you know what I think's amazing about it is that if you asked me to list 1,000 bands, I don't think Alien Ant Farm would have been in that list. But as soon as it started playing, I knew it was Alien Ant Farm.
You're right. Yeah.
I'm like, oh yes, these guys were a thing.
Yeah, you had the Cranberries in this episode as well.
Yeah, I recognised all the songs. I couldn't have told you who they were though, admittedly.
Yeah.
But it was the Alien Ant Farm song that was relatively successful. Not the main one that was successful, because the main one that was successful was the Michael Jackson cover.
Yeah.
Yoki Annie, which honestly, when I hear that now, I just think of Twin Peaks. I'm not gonna lie. How's Annie? Are you okay? Are you okay, Annie? So we start with the song. The shapeshifter is Lex Luthor trying to get his funds, and I'll give the banker credit. He's doing his job. His signature doesn't match. Give us a driver's license just to make sure it's you, Mr. Luthor.
It's like, I know you look like Lex. You're pretty famous, and I know you look like Lex, but I'm doing this by the book anyway. God damn it.
Yeah. So I'll get ID because the signature is maybe not perfect. or even close. Could we see them? They're not even close to being.
He looks at them and goes, "Yeah, no."
That's just like an alien's taking over his body, and it may as well have been.
I'm not gonna lie. I appreciate the confidence of just going, "Screw it, I'm just doing a signature." There's no hesitation. Just straight up does it and goes, "Yeah, that's gonna work."
I think it's because A, acting confident gets you to a lot of situations like this, and B, like, now, how often does it immediately get checked? Really, like, I feel like most times when you sign something, it's just sort of taken for granted that you've signed it. So if you act confident, it's fine. Obviously, right now he's trying to take out every penny he has, so the guy is quite right to double check the signature. But like, you know, like, I feel like typically
it's one of those where they clearly thought, no, I look so much like Lex, and Lex is so famous that they're just gonna go, oh, it's Lex, so it's fine. Yeah,
you get why she's confident enough that it'll work, and then she ends up just having to rob the place with a gun.
I actually like. I think this might be the best episode yet. Not gonna lie. There's awful things in it, but there's some things I like.
Oh god, well, we'll get to the meat of this. So, but Joe, it's funny. So we meet the girl who's the shapeshifter, and I went, she looks familiar, and it was kind of bugging me. And I looked her up, and I went, oh shit, it's Lizzie Kaplan. Because once I knew it, I could see it, but she doesn't look like she does how I think of her. Because I feel like from Cloverfield onwards, she's always looked kind of the same.
Yeah.
Right, and I think of her in that sense.
I had the same where it's like, I'm sure I recognize her, but I didn't look her up.
She genuinely looks really different here, being so young. I mean, I don't know what age she was when this was made. I'm going to check. I'm just curious. Born 82, so she would have been 19.
Yeah.
Give or take. Yeah, she looks really different. So it was nice to see her. Admittedly, and I know she's a decent actress, but the writing and the premise,
it's atrocious. Yep.
Does not do her any favors. And her whole plot is that she idolizes Lana. She wants to be Lana. She wants to be sisters with Lana. She gets the same cardigan. She gets a little necklace. It's kind of like a kryptonite necklace. The whole thing, and she awkwardly comes up and she's like, "Hey," and this is after she's accidentally killed her mother, by the way, right? Let's just point that out. She's accidentally. That's
at least 2 of these meteor freaks that have killed their mothers now.
And
I'm missing another one.
So after she comes over to Lana's house and she's like, "See, you're clearing out stuff in the garage. Very good, very good." And like, "Hey, I mean, you know, I always thought it'd be cool if we could be sisters, right? I mean, we even look alike and stuff. Like, yeah, you know, if anything ever happened to my mother, would Jake Nell would adopt me?" Like, just like, what? How do you think this is going to work? They're going to find your mother's body and assume there's nothing suspicious when Lana says, "Hey, it's kind of weird that she was asking these questions," and then her mother showed up dead like days later.
Yeah, she didn't. For all she thought through the Lex plan, she didn't think through this at all.
Oh no, yeah, it gets more erratic as it goes on. She just turns into people for like one scene and tries to get away with something. Like Martha's not going to think, "That's weird, Clark's trying to run me over."
Yeah.
or why Clark like sees her walk into her mother's store and then she pretends to be her mother and she's like, "Oh, Clark must be seeing things." Like, yeah, sure, yeah, he's got X-ray vision, but he's seeing the incorrect things otherwise. Yeah. But no, so you got that. But once again, we have several scenes in this of Kristin Kreuk just drawing the energy out of everything she encounters. Jesus Christ, some of this stuff with her mother.
We're back at the grave.
We're back at the grave. The entire finale showdown takes place at the grave. She's in a crypt herself. Like, this whole thing's going down.
No, I like that part. Let's leave her in there.
Oh, that part's okay, you think? Again, it can only be solved. They can only find her because he's got the X-ray vision.
Obviously.
And of course, kryptonite was a factor. I was saying this to Connor actually between episodes, that I am going to point out and criticise the fact that now we're 4 for 4, where the kryptonite has affected him at some point.
I thought we were going to get away with it in this one, because you did point out to me before, and I thought, you know, okay, so the opening shows that, oh no, she's strong enough to affect him because she's got kryptonite inside her body, because, you know, she throws him through the window.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, I'm not going to count that, because that's not an active, you know, kryptonite effect. That's just, okay,
oh,
that's
yeah,
just how she is.
It's not the sound effect. It's not the veins popping out on the hand. And
right. So I thought, okay, no, we can get away with it this episode. We don't need to have kryptonite because she can handle herself to some extent. We've seen this here. That's why this is setting this up. No, we'll get the necklace out anyway. Why the not?
She gets the necklace, and Clark's like, oh, stomach pains. Like, we get the whole thing. And the reason why I was thinking about this is because one of the criticisms that people who don't like Superman tend to bring up is that, oh, there's always kryptonite so he can have a weakness. And honestly, no, kryptonite is usually quite sparse. Good writers don't overuse it. But Smallville is like 4 for 4 now. It's been a big deal in every episode.
Yeah, and I hope it moves away from it. Like my thing is, okay, I know there was a meteor shower, so it is abundant in the area at least.
Oh yeah, logically it's kind of fine, but logically does not mean it's okay from a writing point of view. Where it's not annoying me. Yeah, it's
annoying, but it's like, okay, if this continues when we get to Metropolis, we're gonna have some real problems.
That's actually one of my biggest pet peeves when people try and like, defend something, and they'll try and say, but logically this makes sense because of this. I'm like, I don't care if it logically makes sense. It's still annoying as a viewer. It's still annoying from a story perspective.
I'm going, yeah, I get it that logically it's there, but it's still irritating. But you're right. If to use that, I'm like, yeah, it is there, but it's not an excuse, is it?
Doesn't change the fact that they're relying on like a crutch every single episode to make it feel like he might not win, even though we know he's always going to win. Because
it's especially more irritating in this one where the opening sets up that it doesn't need it for her to
she's strong enough to
some extent.
Yeah, she's strong enough to fight him. Yeah. Straightforward. And of course it's an excuse to have Lana come in, and it's actually her, but she kisses Clark, and she's like, oh, I want you, Clark, you want me. You've been noticing each other. Do you know what's really cracking me up with this? Is that I think Kristin Kreuk's acting, not great, but is legitimately better when it's not actually Lana. Like when she's playing...
When she's playing it up as if it's over the top.
When she's playing a fake version. And do you know what the problem is? Is that Lana as a character in the show is this perfect goody two-shoes, soft-spoken girl who cares so much about like what her mother said. It's because she's angry at her aunt because like her aunt sort of didn't tell her that when her mother was a teenager, she didn't like cheerleading. She was sort of feeling trapped by the town. She wanted to leave, and she wanted to do all these things. And like, I get that it's different for people who are adopted or people who don't know their actual parents, but and obviously we both grew up with our parents, right? We know our parents, right? So I'm going to ask you a question: do you give a shit what your parents were like in high school?
God no. I see a picture of my mum in school, and I go, okay.
I don't even want to see a picture.
Yeah. No, like just like you'll be at the grandparents' house or something. And there'll be a picture on the wall. Oh, okay, I recognize her, but I don't care.
Yeah,
I got particularly awkward once I went off to uni, and I'd be like, I'd go out to this local chain of like drinking establishments, shall we say, fine drinking establishment. And
rat holes.
And my mum was she'd phone me at one moment. She goes, "Oh, you been out this week?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I was at Beer Keller." She goes, "Oh, I used to go to Beer Keller when I was at uni." I'm like, I don't want to know this. Don't tell me what you did at uni.
Yeah, I don't care. You talking about uni leads to your sexcapades. I don't want to hear about those, mother.
Yeah.
That's the last thing I want to hear about.
Don't tell me about you. I lived with you. I know what you're like when you go out drinking and come home. You're very loud. I don't need to imagine that in uni.
No, don't get me wrong. I realize like people who it's that kind of thing where when it's something you don't have, you kind of like you fantasize about it, you long for it, you make a thing out of it. So people who are adopted do think about what their parents were like more so, whereas people who know their parents just don't give a shit what their parents were like.
Right, but my thing is still you'd think about what they were like toward by the end, like not as they were now, like when you're your age.
Yeah,
she still don't do that, surely.
For me, it just strikes me as odd that she cares what her mother was like when she was in high school because she wants to be the same way or she feels she connects to her in some way. I don't know. It rings kind of false for me. What really rang false for me is she asked Chloe for help. Chloe's actually involved in a plot that's not to do with Clark in this episode, which was amazing to me.
To the point where Pete has something to do because Chloe's busy.
You say something to do. He's just kind of there while Clark finds the body.
Okay, when I say something to do, I mean they write him into a scene because Chloe's busy. He's the stand-in. And
that's the thing. Like, literally all he has dialogue in the scene where he literally says, "Oh no, if you want help with cases or wall of weird stuff, you call Chloe. If you want to talk about sports or girls, I'm your man." And I'm like, okay, that basically writes you out of most of the episodes then. Because he's not opening up about Lana, certainly. So
No, it's like, okay, so why are you here?
But so she eventually gets this cassette, which for the people who were born around the start of this show might not know what an audio cassette is. Or a VHS is. It's how some people used to listen to things before CDs.
It's making a weird comeback.
Do you know what's funny? I saw James Gunn tweeting just yesterday. He's proud that Guardians Volume 1 and 2 are both selling in cassette well this year, as is the Stranger Things soundtrack.
Yeah, they're doing the San Junipero one, the Black Mirror episode. The score for that just released on cassette.
This is the most pointless thing ever. Tape is awful. Stop it.
It is objectively inferior
to everything. Like, some people obviously like vinyl, and there is like maybe a quality to that you don't get in modern things.
Regardless, it's uncompressed, which compared to a CD or an MP3 is better.
Oh sure, I mean it depends on what you're.
All right, you can now get a digital download that's better, sure.
Yeah, you get lossless audio. That's a thing.
Yeah, but not on a CD.
Not on a CD, although CD's fine for like most people, really.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, if you're an avid collector, then sure, knock yourself out. Get
if you're an audiophile, you'll hear it, but otherwise, you probably won't notice.
Yeah. What cracks me up is I feel like there's some words with "fail" at the end of it that is fine and innocent, but there's some that are just really bad, and it sounds really bad to call yourself something like that. I'm an audiophile.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah. That's technically that's perfectly right. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like bibliophile, that's another common one.
It sounds like you're molesting CDs in the back of a shop or something. Oh, I'm going to put something in that CD hole.
I mean, someone's pretty small if they get in the CD holes.
That's a fair point. Well, it's not like records don't have that much of a bigger hole, though, do
they? It depends on the size of the record. The smaller ones have a bigger hole. You have to have an adapter to fill it out.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Vinyls are such old technology that I've never used one. So, despite my, not old age, but older than these people who don't know what CDs and cassettes are.
People know what CDs are. Don't give them that. Like, they have to. No one can exist and not know a CD still.
You say that, but there's people who are now. I mean, let's think about when MP3 players became a thing, right?
Okay.
You're talking what, 2004, 2005 was when the real
2000s.
Right? There's people who are now about 12 who probably have never touched a CD. I mean, that's still a little bit young, but still, I mean, that's...
No, I get it, but at least, like, you can't, generally speaking, you can't buy a cassette tape anymore. You can't just go,
sure.
Yeah, CDs, they're in the shop. People know, you have to know what one is.
Well, yeah, but then you get to the point and they're like, yeah, but are people that age, have they ever even went shopping physically for these things, or have they just been getting things on iTunes or whatever?
I get that, but they'll be in, like the supermarkets as well for CDs.
Sure. I bet there's still some. I bet we can find some 12-year-olds who don't know what a CD is. I bet they exist.
God, I hope we can't.
I bet you can. Like, I'll agree that it's not all 12-year-olds, but I'm saying I bet you can find some 12-year-olds who don't know what a CD is.
That's terrifying.
They don't know what a CD is.
I weep for humanity.
They don't know what Alien Ant Farm is.
Oh, they definitely don't know what Alien Ant Farm is. And to be fair, they're better off on that one.
Probably.
I wish I didn't.
Yeah, I really don't like the singing in that song, by the way. Can I just point out, we had a weird joke in the middle of this show where we talked about trying to stick your dick in a CD. I just want to point out that was a segment.
Well, yeah, what are we doing?
Oh yeah, back to Smallville. What were we talking about?
I suppose. I don't know.
Lana, parent, teenager.
Yeah, I was right. It was bollocks.
All that stuff. Yeah. Back to the fake kiss where she just kind of throws Clark. She turns into herself. Of course, he's really into the kiss because he's Clark. He's actually really weird later on when Lana actually herself shows up, and he's like really awkward. He's like, oh,
because he's like, are you Lana or are you not?
Yeah. And honestly, like, I'm okay with the fake one if she's willing to just keep doing the kissing. It's fine. I'll go with it.
I'm not entirely sure why she revealed herself. She was getting away with it.
Yeah, I don't know. It makes no sense because she starts doing that a lot throughout the episode, and I'm like, why are you revealing yourself? Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you're getting away with this.
Keep your disguise. Like, there's no reason for you to reveal yourself at all.
No one's calling you out on it, and then you're going, well, I might as well drop the disguise. You're just going, screw it, I'm done with this now. I'm bored.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Of course, Whitney's around. She gets his jacket so she can pretend to be Whitney to Lana a little bit. And here's the weird thing about that though, is why did she use his jacket? Like, if Whitney showed up to the graveyard without his jacket, Lana's not going to go, "Oh, you can't be Whitney. You look like him, but you don't have the jacket on."
You say that, but have you ever seen Whitney without his jacket?
So what? Even if you always wore the same hat, you never took the hat off, but then I saw you one day without the hat, I'd say, "Oh, that's weird, you're not wearing a hat." But I wouldn't stop.
You go, "Oh, that's weird, you're ginger."
Yeah, because the beard doesn't give it away.
Hey, lots of people have ginger beards.
I don't.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
I don't. But yeah, why do you need the jacket? It's stupid. It's a whole thing. God. Meanwhile, Lex is being extorted by a reporter for money because of his record. But then Lex flips it on him. He's super evil, and then basically gets him to work on the case. Why am I not dead? Why did Clark stop this car? Like,
I actually like the Lex stuff in this episode. That's like, I think it's actually not bad.
It's okay. It's definitely probably the best it's been. I'll give it that.
Yeah, I like it. You know, when he comes by the farm at the start, and you know, he's just the barbs with Jonathan.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the line where he says, "I'm not a criminal mastermind." I don't know how I feel about that line. Because I'll be honest, as much as I'm okay for the witty Superman references, I feel like Smallville is really on the nose, and it feels they need to do it so often.
See, I agree, but I think this is the best one they've had yet because it actually makes sense in context of what's going on in the episode rather than just shoehorning a line in. This is, oh no, I didn't.
That's fair.
Just rob a bank.
That is fair. I think my problem though with this is that by this point they've set a precedent.
They've lost the goodwill. Yeah.
Yeah. That now I'm just going to be cynical every time they do it, no matter what the context is.
No, that's fair. But I thought, you know, if this had been the only one, you'd have been like, yeah, fair enough. There's nothing wrong with that because it worked in context rather than just, hey, is this, you know, what are some of the shit ones we've had? I can't remember. They're that awful. Well, yeah, what are you, man or Superman? That was atrocious.
Oh, I was in the was the first episode. That was, and of course they tried the Nietzsche book with Ubermensch. They tried to.
Yeah. They tried, but no, don't give us this bollocks.
No. Just like the phrase Superman should never be uttered until he's Superman.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Same with Batman.
Well, it's even more true with Batman because at least Superman, you can kind of argue that there's it's a normal the concept word. Exists.
Yeah. And in fact, it actually goes far to say with Batman, and this is me making a dig at Gotham for Balloon Man, that no character should exist with the word man at the end of his title before he becomes Batman. Like in the city, you know, like there shouldn't be Balloon Man and Banana Man and like, you know, take your pick.
Yeah,
because I hate the idea that Batman's influenced by some asshole called Balloon Man later on when he's like, I will call myself Batman because I got that idea from Balloon Man. No.
I can't believe Balloon Man was a thing. I remember that. I
can't believe that the cop who get like attached to the balloons never thought to shoot the balloons. He had a gun in his holster. He's been dragged up into the sky, and he never thinks to shoot the balloons. Well, he's still low enough that he won't, you know, die from the fall.
I like that we're on Smallville and we're shitting on Gotham. I don't know which is worse.
I've only seen like 4 or 5 episodes of Gotham, so I can't really make the comparison.
No, well, that's the question. One day, do we dare? I don't know if we do.
Eventually, we're going to finish Smallville. We have to replace it with something.
Swamp Thing.
I mean, Lois and Clark will be finished first, so
yeah, like long before.
Yeah, so you know, I feel like by the time we finish Smallville, we might be at the point where Gotham's like one of the only options left.
Balls.
They'll be like, damn it, we need to do Gotham now. Hi. What else happened in this episode worth talking about?
The Lex, they actually, I think one of the first times the show's done it, it's hinted at like an overarching plot. With the I don't actually recall any other instances of it really, but you know, beyond just Lex looking into, you know, specific instances, you know, the reporter's like, oh, I know about Club Zero, and Lex is like, no, let's keep this quiet. But it's like, okay, no, there's actually something there. There's something to discover later.
Yeah. Joe's really bugging me about this show, as I've noticed it was when Lana came over to see Clark, and earlier on when Lizzie Kaplan came over to see Lana, is some of the excuses in this show for people just showing up at places is like so like contrived, and
it bothers me more that they think they need excuses. It's like, no, you're You're friends. You're in school.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially Lana. It's like you live across the. You're across the street, basically. Come over.
She can just come over and say, "Hey," as if it's a normal thing. Instead, she's like, "Oh, I was out for a jog. And I didn't feel like going home, so I ended up here." Like, what?
Well, you basically came home anyway. You were across the street.
You ended up here. You saw Clark looking through the telescope at you, and you thought, "Oh, I'm going to go and talk to that creepy."
Oh, he was definitely watching her jogging.
Yeah, I'm going to go talk to that creepy Lana file.
Stop making this a weird thing.
You are an audio file. You get folds and folds in your computer, which is nothing but music.
I do have more than is healthy. And a lot of it is lossless.
There you go. Lossless. And you're lossless for hope.
I'm not sure that really worked, but
I'm taking it.
Fine. Whatever.
Dear. Yeah, it was nice to have Chloe doing something different that wasn't just, helping Clark with something. That was kind of nice.
I like that. I like the Lex stuff. Dislike that we didn't get enough of the Kents.
Yeah,
their stuff's usually pretty solid.
That said, actually, there was a line at the end that I really liked from Martha Kent. Because Clark's like using his vision to see Lana and Whitney kiss, and like, oh, he'd be a bit pervy here. We even mentioned that when he accidentally was looking at the girls' locker room, and he's like, "Oh, Lana's taking her." And you know what the funny thing was? Is I kept expecting the scene for him to sort of like shake it off and be like, "Oh, I can't look at this." He kept looking. The scene just cut away.
Like, I'm enjoying this. No, it's okay. Joe, on that scene, they're climbing the ropes, and he falls off. He falls right onto the hard floor. Do they not have those padded mats? Is that not a thing that people did in schools?
Of course they do. I don't know why they're not doing that.
That's what I was like, why have you not, like, you just let the kid fall onto the floor from the ceiling?
If he can't hold onto a rope, he's not worth surviving. So that's the attitude.
Sure, but I mean, a non-Clark kid could have actually been hurt by that sort of fall.
No, I agree. Here's something I want to bring up, though. The line that I like to
get to the line, yeah.
So he's spying on them, and he's like, hey, Mum, like, what would you do if you could see everything? And she says, I'd learn to close my eyes. That's an okay line. You know what? I'll give them that line. That was a good line. Good sentiment.
I don't know what it is, but they seem to get the Kents.
They do. They get the Kents to get. Everything else, not so much, but they get the Kents.
Yeah.
Here's something I want to complain about.
Okay, another thing.
So Lana comes to Chloe for help at the torch, which, by the way, is miraculously looking really good after it burned down like 2 episodes ago.
Yeah. Is this the shorthand?
She's like, oh, I want records of this year. It's like 1976. Like, I want records of this year for this speech at homecoming or whatever it was. And she's like, oh, that's PC. PC? Pre-computer. And I'm like, you call computers PCs? I mean, let's forget. I mean, politically correct. I don't think started using that shorthand until later, so I'll leave that out of it. But you call computers PCs. You're using PC to mean pre-computer, and then
it's contradictory.
And on top of that, she's like, and I don't even remember what it was, but she had an acronym, HC, which is what does that stand for? No, there was another one that meant after computer. Because I'm trying to remember it, and all I can think of is post-computer, but that's the same damn acronym, so that doesn't work.
Do you know what I really don't get? Is why for, why didn't they use BC before computer? And everyone knows, BC, that's old.
Yeah, or even just, or just pre-C and post-C. I'd accept that. Or something like that.
Yeah. But why not B? Because, if I say, something's BC to you, you go, that's old.
Yeah. But seriously, the acronym, if you're going to say pre-computer, then the opposite is post-computer, which is the same acronym. It doesn't, no, stop it.
It doesn't help. Yeah.
Stop it, Chloe, this does not make sense. I know you're running a sex cult, I know you think you're all hot and hot shot, and you can do your sex cult.
We haven't brought that up in a few weeks, have we? I kind of...
I'm not going to lie, every time she's in the first scene of the episode she's in, every episode, I'm like, sex cult. It always pops in my head.
Yeah, me too.
I can't not do it. It's a thing. Maybe there's like a branch there for the audio files that you can get into.
Jesus.
You get in a dark room and everyone's just sitting listening to headphones, just bobbing along.
Can you imagine that Allison and Mack just in the middle of that room?
What is the host of an audiophile sex cult do?
Play.
Does she slow it down, speed it up? like you listen to it and you're like, Allison, slower. It's just like, I'll slow it down to half speed.
I don't know, but I want to know. Just for the insanity of this.
Instrumental version now, Allison. She's like, yes. Instrumental. You just get the backing track.
Well, let's go wild. Let's go a cappella.
Okay. I guess that's Smallville for the week.
Yeah. Can't remember now. Did we kill another one this week? What happened to her at the end?
Oh yeah, she landed in the tree.
Yeah.
The branch. I think she's dead.
Yeah.
So yeah, Lizzie Kaplan. Hardly knew you. Because I've been waiting for the Amy Adams episode, and then Lizzie Kaplan just popped up out of nowhere. I was like, oh, Lizzie Kaplan's in an episode. I guess she fares better, but every scene with her and Lana was dreadful. Her obsession with Lana was like... This is the thing. Going back to playing things completely seriously, like the scene where she asked to move in, and she's like, oh, it'll be a few months, and Lana's like, oh, let me run it by Nell and see if it's okay and stuff. And
it's a pretty reasonable response, I might add, for someone going, hey, can I move in?
Yeah. And she's like, oh, do you not want to move in? And she's like, oh, I just think it might not be the best idea. And she just snaps and she's like, oh, I'm sorry that I wanted to be sisters and wanted to be alike. How dare you react like this? And she storms off. And it was the music during the scene that was like, it was playing it so serious. The music was like, oh, as if there was a big heavy moment. And I'm like,
I know.
No, it's not.
The line that cracked me up is, when Lana goes, I'll ask Nell. And she just goes, Nell loves me. Like, okay, all right, calm down.
And it's the way Lana looked after her, like really, like sort of serious, like, oh god, I've upset her. Like, no, like, I feel like this is just making melodrama out of scenes that would never be this dramatic in real life. It's just like, move in, what? No, of course not. That's what a weird thing to ask someone.
Well, no, but even if you go, okay, sure, I'll ask the person who owns the house and whose permission it would be for you to live
the
there,
parent,
who would be responsible for looking after you.
The guardian, yes.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty. That's what I say. That's the most reasonable answer she could have given. Gone, all right, I'll ask Nell.
Yeah.
You can't just go, yeah, sure, move in. I'll see you tonight.
No, that's the thing. It feels like outside of Clark and his parents, no one ever seems to even talk about the fact that she was shapeshifting. Like, it never comes up to really anyone else.
Do many of them really know? But obviously Lana knows by the end.
Yeah, but no one ever really, like, when all the police are there at the end, like, I feel like just a moment of, like, a captain or something be like, oh, this is strange stuff, like, like, someone who could change their body, or even...
To be fair, maybe they didn't tell him.
True, yeah, maybe they won't believe, but then, how did they ever explain the whole Lex Luthor thing? Which is, in the papers, it's, like, on record, like, Lex Luthor walked in and robbed stuff.
Someone had a fantastic mask.
But he's got an alibi, of course, which is why he's not locked up. He was at a thing, giving a speech.
At a shit meeting.
Yeah.
I say that literally.
Yeah. So there you go. That's Smallville.
We made it. Another week down.